What's going on, guys? After I've had some fun with Vex, I feel like we can go back to the shop. Now, what I'm actually going to be doing is that I wanted to do a video about the specific relics that they have in the shop. So these are 3 different relics that they have. It's going to be obviously the Shock and Awe, the Icon of Valhir, and of course the Lux's Incandescent Baton. So it's 3 of them. These are epic relics. They also come, if you even check, they come with spirit forges, so it even helps you kind of equip them onto the character. But of course it's about value, right? So what I wanted to do here, I wanted to go through each different one and kind of see which ones they work with and which ones that they don't, right? So which one has the most value and which one is like, you could probably like do without it if you really don't want to. So first, let's go with Lux Incandescent Baton. So Lux Incandescent Baton is, if I am Lux, +1 starting mana. That's the only thing that you get if it's on Lux. Obviously there are 2 Luxes currently in POC, and then next part is game start, draw a follower that costs 2 less and grant it Targon's Brace. So Targon's Brace obviously is an item that's currently in the game. As you can see here, it is the support, grant my supported ally +1/+1. So obviously that's really good in the regular. Let's go with the common, the duh. So obviously that's meant for Lux the Illuminated, right? So we all know what it is. We have the Luma Sprite, and that is the thing that we're trying to get. There are, the Vanguard Defender, and as someone also let me know that it says 2 or less, so Gerald the Light Feather is technically in the building for that. So if you were to remove those 2 characters from it, you would always get Luma Sprite, and it has an additional support effect. If I'm not mistaken, and this is something I haven't had the experience, I don't remember it, but when you do the support, it would trigger twice, I would hope. But sometimes it just triggers all at once. It's like one big, oh my god, oh yeah, I have to click that. Anyway, because obviously with her thing is when an ally is supported, that unit's going to get spirit and impact, making it stronger over time. It's a good day. So for Lux Illuminated, it's obviously really good. It's definitely more win more. It gives her a more guaranteed slot. Like I feel like Lux's her slots are somewhat flexible, but it gives you like, hey, if you have this, you wanted to spend the money, boom, do it right now. But what about the other Lux? So for the other Lux, obviously the +1 starting mana is amazing. It's kind of cool that it works on both sides. And her deck, she would automatically get the Mageseeker's Conservator in the hand, which is decent. I think this one's the better one. When I'm summoned, give me barrier, then she gives the barrier to another thing. So it's a nice thing. They support each other, they get stronger, and that's about it. Oh wait, he's 2 costs as well. So he's the one that you probably want the most, because you get a bunch of him, and he then can support another unit, and that unit will slowly grow stronger. But I would say for her, probably doesn't feel as impactful, right? But that isn't all. The only part that revolves around you having a Lux in the deck is just the first part. So any other deck that has a really strong 2-drop or lower that you really want in the hand in the beginning works with that power. Now it might not be worth it. It's very similar to when Nora got hers, right? So Nora's Portal Accelerator, right? Game start if I'm Nora +1 starting mana, which is, oh yeah, I'm going to use this on Nora, but when you summon a creator arrow getting impact, there are certain units, not the craziest, that would use it, but that one I think is relatively weak. Getting something impact because it's created. Now with all the boosting, there's a little fun that you can have with that, but not that crazy. But is there any other deck that can really utilize getting a 2 or less? Obviously you can get something from the shop, I'm not talking about that. Really good 2 or less drop that has a really good item or something like that on it, and you will immediately draw it. Or is there a deck in the game currently that doesn't really have a 2 or 1 drop, and you can get it? Like I said, it actually would be good because then you can look for a 2 or 1 drop, and it's the only one in the deck. Let's see. I came across my first one, Nora. 2 or 1 cost in the deck, she only has 1, which is the Junk Construct, which really helps her deck speed up a lot. Not only that, she obviously is a new 6-star champion, and getting the Junk Construct consistently in the hand to make sure that you always have something to play on too, and the fact that you can then combine it with Nora's own little thing is pretty cool as well. I wanted to mention that one. This is a really good one, I feel like, so far. Now this one's going to be a little bit of a weird one because it kind of contradicts what I've been saying so far, but looking at all the other ones so far that I've gone through, I stopped at Kindred, and I like Kindred because all of these, just to guarantee them in the hand, is just, to me, very impactful. To get the additional prey, This card is summon the prey. Boom, that's good. You have the wings in the wave, summon additional prey, or kill an ally, which allow you to have just to have these guaranteed in the hand. Then you have the Mass Mother guaranteed to be able to utilize it. So all these options to me are so impactful. Some of the other ones are like, oh, that's just a decent card. Is it worth the slot? Kind of hard to say. And now we're at Nami. All she has is the Outer Puss and the Coral Creatures. Both of them have a tune. Both of them create a spell immediately. So I actually think that it's really good for Nami. One of the things that I do want to keep mentioning is that it guarantees you a low-cost follower to play. Speaking of impactful, holy. I feel like the Poro King doesn't have too many good builds or fun stuff. I think the Chemtech Duplicator is like the best thing. And then maybe trying to reduce his cost so he gets out in the field earlier. But the fact that this would give you the Pouty Poro, which is a draw 1 in the deck, right? And then the Lonely Poro, which is it summons itself and then it gets another random 1-cost Poro helping you get closer to your thing. I actually feel like that's really, really good for the Poro King. I think that that's amazing for Poro King. I found another favorite. Going in with the Elder Dragon, guaranteeing yourself the Blue Sentinel or the Ruby-Eyed Conjurer is actually not that bad. In the first early turns, I feel like he feels like naked to me. Like it just doesn't feel like he's that great sometimes in the earlier turn. So to me, getting the ability to make sure that you draw a 2-cost or less thing is really good, especially if I get the Blue Sentinel in the beginning. And this is not that bad because you usually got a big bad unit in the hand. Giving it Spell Shield or Overwhelm will help you kind of scale into the late game. Honorable mention, I feel like Janna does only have 2. Force Chief being a really, really good option out of the 2. And Ballistic Bot, to me, very easy to cut if you need to cut out the deck to make sure that you always get the Forge Chief. I think it's easy, and that's another thing that I want to mention. I'm mixing it up the reasons why I think some are good and bad. There's some that I just don't like at all, but feel free in the comment section below to let me know which ones that you like. Oh, you should have, this one's really good actually, because obviously I don't have the champion levels is a completely different beast, right? And there's some cards that'll get reduced in cost, so maybe I'm missing something. Feel free to let me know. Sometimes I forget that Jax is actually in the game. But looking at this, the Bloody Marauder is definitely not what you really want, but Ionian Hookmaster gives you a equipment so you can start playing around with it. I do think it comes with the barrier, really, really strong, really good. Getting one of the units that already start off with the thing, I feel like is really good for his power. Equip ally dies, you get the draw, and then when they attack, they get stronger, plus the equipment gets a buff as well. And then, oh, sorry, it's down here. They get +1/+1, and then the equipment gets +2/+0. So getting that early to make sure that you have a ramping equipment, I think is really important. So that's kind of like a more guaranteed. And again, I really don't know Jax all too well, but I feel like getting something early like that will be super helpful. Now, I only want to mention Jin for a very specific reason. One, I think he's, you guys already know, Jin! Love the guy. But on top of that, all of his units that you can summon out all have a skill. So that just really helps out his deck, especially if you get the stagehand. And honestly, just getting a unit that has the skill out of the deck and like just getting another one, because you're gonna draw into a bunch of them. Jin is all about setting up, and just so you got like, it's all about setting up to start getting these captive audiences. So the many skills, whether it be unit or spell, is you just want as many of them so you can start chaining these chain onto this total as well, the beauty and the depth. So you just keep doing it and doing it. So I kind of like it on him. I feel like Jin has also very flexible builds. There's a lot of ways you can build him. So I do feel like that if you wanted to just get one more additional card in the hand to kind of start the BS, I feel like that's not the worst thing in the world, but it is still. Honestly, this to me is good enough for Jin, and Jin still has like 2 to 3 other builds that you can go. So yeah, why not? And for the lulz, why don't you just put it on Jinx so that I'm just kidding though, but hey, why don't you just put it on Jinx so you can draw an additional card in the beginning? So when you discard your entire hand, you get an extra pow pow. I'm just kidding, that's stupid. But hey, maybe when you get the 6-star, the pow pows create Armageddon. I don't know, just saying, I thought it would be funny. And similar to other comments that I've made, look at Kayn. Kayn has the Sage Seeker and the Startled Stomper, so if I wanted to remove one or the other, pretty good. If I go to his constellations, you want to have a unit kill another unit, and then it gets +2/+2 and heal it to full. And also they did do another buff on Kayn a while ago that you create a random darkened equipment in hand and it costs 2 less. Before you had to slay a unit to do that, then they buffed him and now you don't have to slay anything, you just get that equipment immediately. So pretty much if you were to make sure that you get this, because yes, these are the only 2 early game units that he can kind of play early on, and the darkened equipment would be free, right? You need a unit to play, so that's kind of the thing. And plus, like I said, it will get the support aspect as well. Then you can draw into Furious Wielder. It's not as bad. Sometimes you draw into the later game, and for certain fights you need Kayn to start off earlier, so I think it's really good for him, honestly. And his builds are very flexible because he doesn't need much to get going. He just needs to level up, so you can still go Stalker's Blade, double Stalker's Blade, and then boom, the epic one. And there's a couple epic builds, but yeah, I think Kayn could really benefit from it. I'll briefly mention Mordekaiser. One, I probably would remove this from the deck to make sure I draw either the Shackled Ghast or the Blade Pierce Revenant. And just because those to me are the 2 cards that kind of really jumpstart his deck, Mordekaiser to me is still very weird. He feels very underwhelming and slow. So just having some type of guarantee, because if you don't draw any of these cards and you draw some of the later things, which is my personal Mordekaiser experience, getting Valhir, Death's Grasp, and I have no unit on the field, missed call, but nothing has died yet or anything like that, or Chronicle Ruin, I don't have anything on the field, Lord Malat. Like sometimes I only get like some of these end game cards here, or end like higher mana cards. So getting something that guarantees it to me, like at least one of them, and all of these cards have some type of revive mechanic, especially with his actual passive, I feel like would be worth it, because he just needs a little bit more help. And I have a fun build for Mordekaiser, I just have to level him up. Very similar to what I just said, Gnosis, I sometimes have that same issue too. Gnosis has a lot of utility in his kit, right? Like Quicksand, Siphoning Strike, Xenotype, like not Xenotype, but like a lot of this later game stuff. But sometimes I really need to draw a Bloodthirsty Marauder. I really need to draw Rockhopper, being to me the better of the 2 options, because it has quick attack and it has the quicksands. It makes something vulnerable. It gives you the ability to trade into it a little bit easier. I honestly do think that, hey, maybe this is pretty good. So, and Gnosis has a lot of fun builds. You guys know I like him. I know people hate his guts. I like Gnosis personally, so I do think that this would be a really good option. Honorable mention by Nico. Frost Cub, and then you have the Spider. You have 2 options, getting another one in the hand. Pretty much, I look at it as, hey, I got another subtype in my hand. That's kind of how I look at it if I were to use it on Nico. She has a couple of builds, but I, just figured I'd kind of mention it. I kind of like Neela as well. Hired Gun, not so much. I would even cut it from the deck to make sure that you're always drawing Pull Shark every single turn. Again, Neela is one of those characters where you have to find a win con in the run. So she's kind of like weird, like she doesn't have it in her deck necessarily. So you need to go find the win con. So getting that draw, and as you guys already know, it creates fleeting. When she plays a fleeting card, it copies the unit or spells that she's playing, the first 2 that she plays. So you want to get fleeting cards as soon as possible. And that's always been my issue with Neela, is not having the ability to make a fleeting card, like pick a card, then it's next turn. So getting a Pull Shark and then kind of starting that off easily, quicker, earlier, to me is actually really important. And she has flexibility. A lot of people, I think, do like the BS build on her, like the gems build, or get your allied champions, but so this would give her a different route where you're actually trying to use and play in her own deck. Now I'm getting towards the bottom, and I'd have to actually say, like, I just went through Set and I also had Samara, so I'm kind of like combining them. It's like there's a lot of ones where it's like it's decent, so I'm realizing that now that it just seems like it's a decent thing. It's just an overall pretty good thing, and I'm just keep constantly going. I'm going one at a time, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting closer to the end. But it just seems like it's a very decent thing that there's always a 1 or 2 cost in the deck. And see, this one is not that bad. See, we got the Crusty. I guess I'm combining all 3 of them into one. But it just seems like they have this, and then you have the Boxopus, these 2 cards, and then it has a bunch of spells that won't be utilized by that. So you have Crusty, the Crusty guy, he already has Targon's Embrace, so it actually you do it twice, which is pretty interesting. And then you have the Boxopus, which then really good. You guaranteed it in the hand, really good for Tom Kench. Kench has, again, questionable build, same thing with Zed, Samara. So it's like, it's so far it's just seeming like it's an overall good thing. I'm still trying to find and point out ones that are like extremely good, but it seems like it's an overall decent one so far. And I do feel bad that I missed Talia. I have given Talia her own video because I forgot to mention her in the Constellations video. I don't know how I forgot her. I don't know how it happened, but well, I'll have to do a full-on video for her, specifically for her separately, because I'm an a-hole. But since we're on this subject, and even though she's one of the ones that is going to be good for the elemental stuff that I'll have to talk about later, is she has the Clockwork Curator, right, and the Rockhopper as her too. The Curator is really good because she actually starts off before we get through all the other stuff that I haven't read yet. But she actually starts off with the Hibernating Rock Bear on the field, right? And then when an allied landmark is destroyed, it grant all allies +1. So that the Curator is really good for specifically that, advancing that landmark that's already on the field when the game starts. And then also Rockhopper is good, and then you can get the Rolling Sands going. If the Rolling Sands breaks, busts everything on the field. So really good, honestly, for her. Weird honorable mention, but also OP mention. If you can remove the Outer Puss and the Dark Bulb Acolyte from your deck as a Vigard deck, then you would only have the Twisted Catalyzer. Guaranteeing to draw the Twisted Catalyzer would ramp up this deck like nobody's business. So I do feel like that would be pretty damn insane if you can get to that point, but you know, it'd be something you have to work for. You'd have to go to at least 2 healing stations in order to get that, but I feel like it honestly would be worth it to make sure that you're guaranteeing the Twisted Catalyzer to ramp it up. Does he need it? No, but like it's still pretty damn strong, especially with a 3-star Vigor, where pretty much every single turn you're getting a free darkness that stacks in the hand. You need to, everyone will just yeah, no, I think it's honestly worth it. And he doesn't need, again, Vigor doesn't really need much. His deck is extremely strong, so I feel like it'd be a really good, worthy epic slot to waste on it. We're all the way down to Yasuo, and I actually think it would be interesting because the Fade Blade Turtle would actually get that. You'd have to go through the Blade Scout, which is draw 1, so I would probably take this one out first. The Blast Cone Ceiling I would probably take out first, but then the Fade Blade Twirler, then I would take this out eventually, and then boom, you get Fade Blade Twirler right in the beginning of the match. Really impactful for you. Watchful Idol guarantee if you remove the Grumslug. The Grumslug's actually really good though. I don't know, but again, I mean, getting either other is pretty good, but you could get the Watchful Idol to get your tentacle spam going on. But with her leveled up, she generates tentacles anyway when you attack. So having, I mean, Grumslug is pretty good. You can put them out and then attack, and then you get the 3 anyway, or you can start ramping it up for free. Kind of like I guess like an honorable mention. Alawi is definitely one of the characters that I almost can guarantee will eventually get 6-star Constellation, and it's going to be Summon Nakagoboros or something like that. So at the bottom of my list, I realized that it seems like it's very impactful. The Lux gets the main benefit of it, the extra starting mana. There's a lot of champions, if not all champions, that could be, it can utilize that just if you want to guarantee some early game pressure regardless of any of the deck. I can tell you right now, almost all the champions have a 2 or less unit in the deck, so it's always impactful. And I wanted to point out some of them that is really good, especially if you go to the healer and you cut a card. Like a lot of times I feel like it's difficult to decide what card to cut, but if you have that relic, I think that it's a little bit easier to make that decision. So Lux Incandescent Baton, I think pretty good, has upsides even if you don't have Lux. If you like Lux, either or of them, I feel like it's very helpful just for the additional starting mana. So that's where I'm going to put it up as right now. Let's go to the next one. Icon of Valhir. Your elemental skills and spells, I reversed that because I assumed that they would say skills first. Spells and skills deal 2 extra damage. So starting off with that, obviously there are only a couple people that have elemental skills and spells, but at the same time, you can pick them up from the shop. It is a power. It is not tied to the champion that is attached to. So just putting this will then make it that you can do that. I wanted to mention that in general. So it just makes, oh, if I see something in the shop, if you just check out the last Vex run that I just did, I just got Nami, and Nami was just phenomenal. So like you can obviously do that, right? So, but let's go in and look at something a little bit more practical than I hope I get a Nami spell in my run. Although Nami does not start off with a elemental skill in her hand or spell, right? She doesn't really have, that does damage, I should say. Maybe I hope I emphasize that. But if you take her, get the Grand General's counter plan, which again, I like to mention that certain relics, it is easier to mention them because you can actually get it. It's a reward. So you can get the elemental Nami's Ebb and Flow by Grand General counter plan, putting it in her hand. So Nami's Ebb and Flow is basically like 1 cost, and if you have enough, you can play the whole line. These things would be doing crazy amounts of damage. Only this one in the end of the end does it. And I feel like just with 1 relic, which is the Grand General's counter plan, and then that one, she's already doing absolutely amazing. This is her, like I said, when you play a spell, gain 1 spell mana, boom. And if it's your 4th spell, oh, look at that, it's a 4th spell, copy it. Oh. Damn, that's actually even more insane than I thought it was. So yeah, Nami really good with that new relic. Next up is going to be Annie. Obviously Annie, really good. These things are elemental. So Disintegrate doesn't count. But Molten Shield is elemental. Tilbur's, his skill also is elemental. I think, I wish I could show it. But yeah, oh yeah, it says it right there. So yeah, he has an elemental skill that would also help with that. Molten Shield, both of them, because Annie's, it's the same thing, but I think it changes. But yeah, it's elemental as well. She also has her in her constellations is that your spells and skills do extra damage, so it will be a lot of extra free damage if you put that on Annie. So boom, you like Annie, boom, you're good to go. The mighty winds! Janna is here. You have the Howling Gale that's in the deck. But she does have one. Oh, there it is. I was like, I could have swore she had two of these things. So Divine Whirlwind is another one. So she starts off with two in the deck, and with the draw power, you are pretty much almost guaranteed to eventually see them some way, shape, or form, and then doing that extra damage, pretty good. And again, I feel like she has, if you want to do the double route, the double plunder route, you can do that. For me, I would just get another epic slot and then put that in there. So boom, I'm just doing more damage because she doesn't need to be on the field, which is very impactful. She doesn't need to be on the field. It's a power. It is not tied to the champion. Honorable mention, Tidal Invocation is in Neela's deck, and that would boost that up. Also, Neela herself has the Formless Blade, which is also an elemental skill. So that, sorry, spell. I keep missing it. I don't know why I keep messing it up. It's like not even that difficult, but yes, she can benefit from it as well. And like I was saying earlier, it's kind of iffy. You know, her deck is so weird. You know, we're always looking for stuff. So now if you see elemental spells that have some type of impact or really good items on it, boom shakalaka, you're putting it on Neela. So far, hey, Neela's getting up. You might get a whole different room build going forward. Speaking of double dipping, baby. Talia, obviously, her level up here, these are actually elemental. The threaded volley would actually benefit from the thing. I mean, how did I miss Talia, bro? Are you ashamed of me that I missed Talia? But I do also have to mention that that's all that is. Only Talia would be benefiting from this on the deck, so it still would do crazy damage. But I do know, or maybe I don't know because I'm a buffoon, that she has something with the something happens with the threaded valleys here. Yeah, they get additional based on the landmarks. So you could be doing insane damage with Talia, like crazy buttloads of damage with Talia with this. So it is cool that even though it's attached to Volibear, which we haven't gone through yet, is that it still works with a couple other characters as well. And boom, we were right at Big Papa's house. So not only does it work with Volibear's Relentless Storm thing, and then when he levels, he's always doing this elemental skill, 4 damage starting off, and then it gets 2, and then we even give it even more damage. But he also does have Avalanche in the deck. Which is gonna, with more damage on top of the avalanche, you're just, damn, it's just a lot of damage, giving you more slays, allowing you to get more Scissors of the Storm. And yeah, that's just obviously overall good thing. I don't think anyone's arguing here about that. Is this guy's thing elemental? No, it is not, just a regular skill. All right, so yeah, pretty good. And that is it for the Icon of Valhir, I think it's called. Really, really good. I feel like way more impactful than the Lux one. So if I was, so far, right off the gate, if I was to spend money, that's one of the ones that I'm getting. The Lux one is very questionable, but I feel like this one has a very strong impact for certain characters, especially because it has one, like here, like Talia and Volibear, it has really 2 impactful. And Annie, I feel, oh my god, it's really good for Annie too. So I just think that it has a little bit more impact. Like I said, Janna is well in there. So like I really feel like, oh yeah, I gotta try that there. Yes, it's a done deal. So for me, I'm 110% going to buy the elemental one so far. So far, Lux up in the air, some cool stuff you can do with cutting cards, but this one is top tier. Last but not least, we have the Shock and the Awe. So power, again, not tied to the actual champion themselves. When an ally attacks costs 1 or less attacks, a skill is triggered, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. This one's is, I have to be very, very picky. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I gotta be very picky on this one because it's great because yes, technically you're gonna waste it. You're basically would be wasting an epic slot on a unit because it's like, hey, I have a 1-star that attacks all the time. So let me just get a funny example out of the way. Now, she obviously she summons these ghastly bands right in the beginning, like all the time. So technically, hey, ghastly bands attacking, you know, they're gonna do 1 damage. But how impactful is that? I guess would be my thing, because the skill only does 1 damage, right? And also, it doesn't say that for each ally or each individual ally attacking. It's really good if you can get a 1 cost or less unit to attack, right? And also, I don't know if it's if the skill is tied to the unit that's doing it, right? I'm assuming it's just a skill that triggers and it just helps out in that way, shape, or form. So let's keep that in mind. So funny enough, the first person on my list is just Miss Fortune herself. She's going to always have, based on her own star power, she's always going to have a powder monkey they're going to be attacking. It definitely does, like, even that to me is not that strong. I do feel like this is where it gets a little bit better when you actually have guns blazing. That to me is more impactful than that the skills you're just doing that, and then if you get some free attacks going, it seems a little bit more impactful for there. But at the end of the day, it's just one thing, unless you have something that boosts the skills damage when it happens. So even the card or the unit that it's specifically meant for, I probably wouldn't put it on that unit until much later. Like until I invested into Miss Fortune, and then I have it. I still wouldn't do it. And yes, you can always get Luden's Echo, like, and that's gonna help that out too. But yeah, I still wouldn't do it until a little bit later. However, someone like Annie can just super, if we're dropping the cake of the money, you know, we're getting the elemental skill one, we're getting all this other stuff. I feel like she can benefit more from it. She has a couple other one call. Oh my god, it's a bear. Oh, that's actually, wow, I didn't even, that's funny. Tibbers is, and he's in the back. That's actually a pretty cool detail. I didn't even notice that. That's funny. She already has spells and skills do 1 damage, so anytime you're attacking with it, that's already doing additional damage. So her being leveled, that little skill is doing 3 damage a pop. If Annie is one of the ones that are attacking, that's another skill that's on the stack, right? So that's also pretty good. I think that it's really way more beneficial for Annie. If we're gonna be serious, Annie does really well with it. And if I go back to the starting deck, looking at the starting deck, you know, you have some of these 1-cost units that can attack Legion, and then also any card that is lower to 1 or less, 0 cost, would also trigger it as well. So I think I really like it on Annie more than Miss Fortune, if I'm being honest. Here's my boy. He is the guy that I really want to see with it. Just specifically because one of my favorite builds to do with Jin, as you can see, I use these 2 slots right here. I turn Jin into a 0-cost unit, and then I attack with him. And anytime you attack with a Corsair, it would work as well. And then boom, you attack, and then magic happens. You get another free skill on the stack. So for me, though, as you can see, the only other 1-cost unit in Jin's deck is the Crackshot Corsair. But if I do this build specifically, one of my favorite Jin builds, I would then do that. That's what I plan to do with it anyway. So really, really impactful here for a Jin deck. And then Jin has another skill, triggering the stuff that we were talking about earlier. Honorable mention to Kai'Sa. One, because Kai'Sa has the Voidling. That's the only option there, though. But if you wanted to go like Luden's Echo Kai'Sa, like it actually just... or if you get the buff in the run, obviously, just an honorable mention says deal 1 damage for each positive keyword Kai'Sa has. When she's like super duper leveled, it's actually going to be pretty nuts insane. You can also do the same cheesy thing that I was just talking about with Jin. I can actually just make her a 1-cost just by plundering first and then playing her, and then she's a 1-cost unit. So then every time she attacks, she then does it, or you can wait for the Voidling. And then just having something that boosts the damage through Luden's Echo. For this, it's a lot more damage than other things that we've talked about before because, yeah, it's not an elemental skill, but this doing potentially 2 damage per keyword, 3 damage per keyword, or whatever the heck the buff is if you get it in the run is absolutely insane and could like completely debilitate something like nobody's business. So the honorable mention. Hey, we're back at Samara. What's up, baby girl? The reason why I want to mention Samara is that with her reducing the cost of cards, a lot of cards can end up being 1 cost, if not 0 cost, right? And it would trigger attack, and it would basically, you have another way to attack, hit the Nexus, and then you're basically triggering Plunder. The Plunder trigger will then make her cards cheaper, allowing you to play. So I'm saying it, I obviously say it in a different order, but like when you do it the first time, then you're creating more 0-cost units so that when you attack, you're doing additional damage, kind of melting the Nexus a little bit in a way. Not the craziest combo, and again, Samara to me is still up in the air with a like exact build. There's a lot of different ways you can play Samara, but and then also with Samara, I think I would also argue that having, like, I love this build, right? The Warning Shot build, and then you could put Luden's Echo on her, and then you could do it a different way. So I definitely think that there's a lot of cool things. So, and back to Talia, right? When an ally attacks, this is when she's maxed out, obviously. When an ally attacks, it plays Threaded Volley. Your spells and skills deal 1 extra damage for ally landmarks. These things are 2 separate things, right? So if you have that ability on you, right? So not only would a Threaded Volley come out for each ally, I'm assuming it's like when each ally attacks, it's in front of them, right? And then also your spell and skill would deal for each landmark. And if there was a 1 cost or less unit, it does damage. And, well, if Talia you need on the field, like the Luden's Echo, that is attached to the champion, but it just seems like you can get a lot of crazy damage with Talia if you wanted to go that route as well. Just thought I'd mention it. So we're mentioning awkward occurrences, right? All the Sigils of the Storms activating, you get a ton of Sigils of the Storms. Those units can then become 0 cost, and then boom, they're 0 cost, and now you have an additional spell. And I feel like volley is not that bad, especially if you're getting the other skill thing as well. I don't know if you have room for all this nonsense that I'm talking about, but yeah, it would be pretty interesting if you're doing that as well. You have the Luden's Echo, and then you just pump damage. Not the craziest thing, but pretty funny if you got it going, right? And I thought I'd mention that plunder in general, any of these plunders ones, if you're, I just use Jin because he has both of them on. The Scourge's Stash, if you have a 1 cost in the deck that is relatively able to attack, so I could actually say, let's say if I wanted to go back to Gwen, right? And I said Gwen is not going to really make sense, but Gwen actually could, right? Like if I had one of the Scourges or 2 of them or whatever, yeah, I could even do 2 of them or something like that, and then I attack, boom, she gets reduced because the Ghastly Lands attack, and then it hit the Nexus or something of that nature. Not as great, but I figured I'd mention it as far as like that would help you trigger the plunder for any plunder thing that's in there. Same thing with Samara, that's why I mentioned that as well. So yeah, thought I'd mention it. So far, that is it for all 3 of these lovely, oh wait, boom, there we go, look at that. So far, I would have to say Icon of Valhir is the best. It has the most impact for, I feel like, the characters that work. And it's funny because that was the one I was actually, before thinking in my brain, was thinking about actually buying. I was like, that one's going to be the wackest one. Shock and Awe is going to be what I'm going to buy because I'm going to, it's going to be really good with Jin. So it'd be a really good buy because it's just really good with Jin. But it really doesn't have too much impact. I actually would say it has the least amount of impact that you can do, unless you're planning to play Luden's Echo on top of it to kind of like ramp up the damage, or like with Annie, it kind of sticks with it as well. Annie being the queen actually of these, almost all 3 of them, right? You can literally put all 3 epic items on Annie, and I feel like she actually does fine with it. Her getting a 2 cost thing and getting Targon, her making elemental spells and skills do more damage, and if they're low end and another skill pops up, helps her level. So this is, I don't know, this is the Annie packet. This is the Annie packet. So also I wanted to bring this over. Calculator, there it is. So each pack currently costs $11.90, and if you were to get all 3, that's $35.70, right? Please, again, don't fall for that. $69.30, it's not worth that much. It's $11.90. That's what they really want you to pay for it. They're all $11.90, so there's not like one's higher price than the other. So how much was that be in Basil bucks? Let me stop. So with the pricing structure that they currently have, and it's intentional, just so you know, it's intentional. You have to go, it's $10 and then it doubles up to $20. There's not a $15 option. So you would actually need to go with the $20 to get one of them, right? And if you want all 3 of them, like I said, 37, what is it? Oof, right? $35.70. So actually, if you wanted to go with the $35 option, you can get all 3, right? Get all 3 by spending $35. You can get all 3. I would say if you just wanted one of them, you have some extra, like I have 519, so if I just wanted to get 100, that would cover me. So $10 on top of what I currently have, and I can just get the Icon of Valhir, and that would be good enough for me at the moment, right? Like I feel like that one is the best one. It helps a lot of characters. It has a very strong impact on each one. And I feel like that is the one at the end of the day that you would probably be better off going for, just overall with the camp currently. Like I said, even the one that Miss Fortune comes with, I feel like doesn't really work for her outside of eking out a little bit of extra damage here and there. Like it doesn't even seem to be that great for Miss Fortune to me. The Valhir one, absolutely phenomenal. Plus you get some shards for Volibear. Plus Volibear, if I remember correctly, and now that I know that with the let me just go there because I'm about to just ooze Volibear all over you. What's really cool about the constellations of Volibear is that like his things are boom, and then I think right here, right? It's kind of crazy. So you can really easily contact his thing. You might need some of the shards or whatever to get to that, and you need this Freljord shard here. But really, really easy to get to his like final thing if you want to get to it. So what do you guys think? Which one are you more interested in? Like I said, you get 60 of the specific character helping you go into their thing. You still need way more than 60, so it's not going to get you their 6-star or whatever like that. You get more cosmic blessings, helping you level up the character if they're not max level already. You get the icon, you get 3 spirit forges. That means 3, you can smack 3 purples on that unit that you're buying it for, and then 3 silver vaults, which will also open. The vaults give you more fragments to random characters, so not guaranteed to get Lux. You could also get more Lux or Volibear or Misfortune. So yeah, that's the good thing about it. If you want to get the actual regional things, you have to buy the star bundles and things of that nature, which are priced, as we all know, 1980 price pointed specifically, so you have to go into this range. You have to spend $20. So these are $20, and then the 5-star ones are $39.80, which I'm pretty sure that is above $35, right? $39.80. Yeah, you got to go up to $50 for those other ones. So hope you got some money, but I hope this helps you make a more informed decision on which one is more impactful versus which one is kind of like a troll, like a joke, haha. The Lux one is like, well, Lux already broke it. She doesn't need any help, but it is pretty cool if you just like to play Lux, and I feel like a lot of people like to play Lux, so I feel like it's fine. Let me know in the comment section which one that you went for or would like to go for, or did this video help you at all? Let me know in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.